Good.
That
Green.
probably means that we're alive, Michael.
Well, hello and welcome to the RPG Academy podcast YouTube page and Twitch stream. I am, of course, Michael, and I have with me tonight three of the faculty members that attended AcadeCon this year and helped make AcadeCon AcadeCon. So this is going to be kind of a loosey-goosey show. We're going to talk about things that went well, maybe things we could change or tweak for next year. Some of it high level. We might get into a few good war stories if we have any. But before I get any further, let's introduce the crew. To my virtual right, stage left is Tom. Tom, say hello, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. I'm trying really hard to look at the camera and not you. So just if I keep looking up like that, that's because my monitor's up here and my camera's here.
It can be hard not to look, but you know.
I'm trying real hard, Ringo. All right, and then below him, again virtually, is Brad. Brad, say hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody, how you doing tonight?
All right, and then to his left, right, below me, I don't know, is Ryan. Ryan, say hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody out there in internet world.
All right, so this is the four we have. Obviously, there's a lot more faculty members and then some extended faculty that help make AcadeCon AcadeCon. Could not have done it without them. But just Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, this is the people who were able to join the call. So Tom, I'm going to start with you actually, since this was your first year at AcadeCon as faculty.
This is second year.
Oh, but it's faculty?
But yes, but here's the thing. I'll give you this. Last year, I had just joined the faculty. So I was kind of a fly on the wall, observing everything.
Okay.
So, yes.
Man, so is it your faculty birthday? Because I swear I didn't think you had been a faculty that long. My apologies.
No,
AcadeCon's basically his faculty birthday, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, perfect.
How about let's hop skip over me and come back to me, because I'm still trying to see if we're actually live. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so
I'm
then
doing
I'll
some
go to
technical stuff.
All right, you handle the technical stuff. I'll jump to Ryan because unfortunately, scheduling be what it is, life being what it is. Ryan's had a truncated AcadeCon attendance, so you were only there on Saturday and then only for a few hours. So Ryan, what were your impressions of AcadeCon this year compared to years past? Any differences? Same? Just what was your overall thoughts?
So I was there the whole day on Saturday. I mean, I think I left at like 10 o'clock.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we were there.
I was doing the murder mystery for the last 3 hours. I just didn't see you.
You were, yeah. No, I left. We left at right about 10 o'clock, and I say we because this is the first year that I got to bring my son. AcadeCon has always been the same weekend as his birthday, and it's always been a struggle for me to get there. He now can play games with us. He is turned 9. He's been playing D&D with me at home for about 8 months. He absolutely loves it, and he got to come to AcadeCon this past year as a faculty guest, dubbed faculty. He got his own t-shirt, the Z faculty. He helped out behind the table. He absolutely loved it, and it made AcadeCon this year more special for me.
That's awesome.
Even though I didn't get the full time there, I couldn't have asked for more. He was thrilled on the way home, loved every second of it. I mean, I can't really say enough about having my own son there to play games with. Even though I lost every one against him fairly, I did not cheat. Now I don't pull punches. My wife and I both, we don't pull punches with other kids when it comes to playing games. We like to win, and he beat me fair and square every game we played.
Yeah, I'm the same
for him
way.
It was awesome. For me, even better as a dad, getting my son involved with AcadeCon and games.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't let my kids win. There might be some times where I don't necessarily make the most strategic move that I could, but I never just let them win. So if they ever win a game, it's because they earned it. And Jacob, my youngest, has beaten me at checkers. He's also sometimes, like if he's losing really badly, he'll just stop playing. But he's really good at games and puzzles. Like it's kind of funny. But anyways, so this is going to make the flow kind of weird. But just because you brought it up, probably one of the biggest announcements for future years is we are going to have AcadeCon again next year. This is always a year-to-year decision, but this was probably the easiest year-to-year decision I've ever had because this year went so remarkably well, as in my view. But we're going to do it next year, the first weekend in November, which is the 6th, 7th, and 8th. That does put us on the same weekend again as Metatopia. And that year, it'll be on the same weekend as Gamehole Con, I think, which is in
That's in
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was a couple people that when we made the announcement weren't thrilled with that weekend. I get it, I totally do. But if we can't move it any earlier into October, because we have both Con on the Cob and Sin City Con, which are both in Ohio, so very close to us. And then the weekend after, in my opinion, is just too close to Thanksgiving. If we go to the other side, we also will lose Contessa. They can't attend if we do it that next weekend as well, because they have commitments to a local con. So it's not perfect, but again, it's never been perfect. We had the same discussion literally every year, and that's just the way it's going to be this year or next year is November 6th, 7th, and 8th. So hopefully the vast majority of people, that's totally cool. If you're one of the few that now has a really tough decision between a AcadeCon or somewhere else, I appreciate the dilemma. I understand if you need to go somewhere else, but really it doesn't make sense for us to move it to a different weekend with all of those factors combined. So with that out of the way, we'll go to Brad.
But I will point out.
What's that?
I was going to say, I will point out that we have remained pretty steady, I think, the last couple of years between 400 and 500 attendees, which is kind of kind of a sweet spot. We'd like to have more, obviously.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know that it's feasible.
Spot and people are enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, we had over 450 unique attendees this year, which is our highest ever. But if we can just keep that number, like maybe get to 500 every year, that's fine. That's great. Again, I'll jump to the spoiler here. We made money this year. Yay! Yeah. And in fact, we made enough money that we offset the losses from last year. So AcadeCon is officially back in the black. As a organization as a whole, we are in the positive. Now, that includes the fact that I don't pay any of you for any of the things that you do. And if I did, we would never get any money. But it's nice to know that we had a successful year in terms of people, their enjoyment, and financially.
Short commercial break. Thank you for Berserker Rage giving us that follow, and New York Tater throwing us those bits. My people are showing up. So anyway, yes, this is such a lucrative endeavor that we have embarked on, and I cannot wait to bring home even more bank.
Tom's hype man skills need a little bit of work, but keep throwing him some bones to work with there, people.
Yeah, I mean he's got me beat, that's for sure. Right. So let's jump over to Brad then. So Brad, again, you've been there every year from the basement years. You're one of the OGs. So what did you think?
A few years on me.
What did you think about this year as compared to other years? Anything noticeably different?
I had a blast. It was a great time. This year, we still had, it was such a great vibe. We still maintain that what we call the AcadeCon vibe, of which is just, I don't know, the only way we quantify it is hanging out with your best friends in that kind of small enclosed environment and playing some games. It's great. Definitely. This year, I think we still got that, and as far as differences, man, everything went really smooth.
It did. I'm still afraid, we've forgotten something. We're gonna get a letter oh, you forgot this important thing, but because everything there was almost never any fires. Which is, again, every year, even last year, the year before, which went well, there were still fires. There were things that happened that were oh, God, we got to deal with this now. We didn't have any of that this year. The biggest fire that we had was leaving on Sunday night. I had sent an email earlier, maybe 2 months before the event, to the vendors, letting them know that they could move out between 4 and 8 p.m. And then the DCC and I changed that, and I was supposed to leave by 6, and I didn't tell the vendors. And all but 2 of them were out by 6 anyways, but there were 2 that were still there. And I was I'm so sorry, but you guys have to get out of here right now. And they're I thought we had till 8. So I don't have a ride here yet. So that was our fire. There's nothing we could do about it. I still left. Michael and Brad stayed with me to the very end. I think we left right at 6:30. They were still there. but there was literally nothing we could do about it other than I'm getting a bill from the DCC. I have to pay a stupid amount of money for security having to stay an extra hour, even though they only stayed 15 minutes past 7. But even with that, we're still good with the money situation. It's stupid amount and how much it is, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much, if that makes sense. So I'm sorry, I totally railroaded you there, Brad.
If that's the least of our fires this year, I think all of us can take a sigh of relief. I mean, hey, it's taken us 7 years to get there, but we finally got a smooth con for not only the attendees, but finally for us as faculty that run the show, that kind of keeps things flowing.
Yeah, it was definitely all around pretty well positive. But again, Brad, I kind of jumped in there. Anything else you want to talk about?
That was great.
So what would be your favorite moment? Was it the game you ran? Was it a game you played? Was there a time where you're like, man, I'm so glad I'm here?
Honestly, some of my favorite moments are it's just hanging out with some people at the front desk, talking to some people that I only get to see at AcadeCon, or man, I just love that barbecue place.
It's so good. I went there 3 times this year, I think.
Oh my word.
No, there were some definitely great games I played in. I didn't run anything this year, which was the first year I didn't run something at AcadeCon. Still feel a little weird about that, but it's all good.
You got to be the guard captain in the murder mystery event again. Basically, everyone reprised their roles as NPCs except for Marty, who was sick. But we had an amazing fill-in from Jake, who's part of the Tom's bi-weekly Wednesday game. He did a phenomenal job as well.
Talk about coming in clutch. Like when Marty's good, and then when your bench is also that good, it's, like you can't stop it.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. Which again, probably the highlight of the year for me again was that event.
It was,
I do need to change that. That was definitely the highlight. Sorry about that.
No, that's totally fine. So I guess Tom, we'll circle back to you finally. Again, so this is your second AcadeCon, but was there anything that you noticed drastically different from years past?
Okay, just to clarify for those out there, second AcadeCon as faculty, but I've been here since the lodge.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going back, not as far back as Brad or Ryan, but I was there at the lodge.
I think that was my first AcadeCon too, was the lodge.
But yeah, so second year as faculty. It was just as fun as all the previous years because I got to play in some games, I got to run some games, and that's why I originally started coming to AcadeCon. So, and I also get to hang out with my regular gaming group, so it's fun to I see these people all the time, but it's always great to see them more and to just play games with everybody, see all of my internet friends, which is still, I'm still so awkward about it, which is like, hey, I know your Twitter avatar. And that's kind of it. Got to meet so many new cool people that were there this year. So overall, it was a blast. I don't see Shortman Ian in the chat right now, but he owes me big time for stepping up and taking his game on Friday morning that he was unfortunately not able to be there. But it turned out, so Michael, day one. All right, day one, Michael, this is why we don't have fires, all right? Because you surround yourself with all of us, all right?
That's 100% true, yes.
No, so Michael's like, my goal for AcadeCon is not to play Dungeons & Dragons, all right? So, because there's all these crazy cool games. And Michael looks at me, and he's like, hey, Tom, it's 9 a.m. on Friday. Can you run Dungeons & Dragons? I'm like, okay, fine. But it was so cool. It wound up being one of my favorite games of the weekend. I was playing with the Dungeons and Detentions folks. Got to hang out with Matt Cool a bunch, and so that was an absolute blast. So overall, I mean, just another great convention.
And the way you said that makes it sound like I was a lot more approachable and maybe even demure. It was more like, Tom, I need you to run a game now.
You yell across the table. I'm like, what? It's snow. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, Tom, can you run a game right now and with no prep? And you're like, yeah, I can.
Yeah, it worked out.
And
So
to be fair, I know there are other people. I think maybe was Ryan, maybe Rocky, but this has happened like almost every year
yes.
where somebody's game didn't go. I look around at the table. I'm like, who can run a game right now? And everyone, we've always had someone step up.
Oh, it's so funny. It was so funny though because when you start saying that, there's like I saw like 3 people kind of go like this. Jared starts to walk really quickly away.
Guys, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back in 20
I'm
minutes.
still new, so I'm just like, hey guys, hey, how's it going? Mike was like, his hunter vision sees me and comes and grabs. All right, so anyway, yeah, it was an absolute blast. Got to play all sorts of cool games.
Yeah, and then again, you were also an NPC in the murder mystery game. You were the butler,
reprising my role.
and you got a name this year, right? You were the butler last year, and this year, Grisham.
I was Grisham. That was Jake. I was like, Jake, I need a British name. He's like, Grisham, you're Grisham. So anyway, that was that.
Yeah, but again, it was absolutely a blast. So I ran 3 events this year. Friday night, pretty much I always run Scooby-Doo Dread. Saturday night, now the last 2 years has been the murder mystery. And then on Sunday, I ran I'm gonna call it a play test, but that's much, the words don't match exactly what this is, of the game that I've been tinkering with for a while. That is just an excuse to roll d12s. Like that is all it is. It started as a joke. So I wanted an RPG that rolled d12s, and that's basically all you roll in this game. You roll a bunch of them, but it went really really well. It made me really happy, and I think what I said to a couple people afterwards is I still don't know if it's a good RPG. I don't know if it makes sense as a game, but it's a good fun facilitator. Like the 4 people at the table and myself, we had a great time with it. But again, I don't know, was it all because of the rules, or was it just because we were mostly improv and making stuff up? So I'm still tinkering with it. I probably will run it maybe even at Gen Con this year as a playtest, and we'll see how I feel when it gets closer. But yeah, all 3 of my events went really well. Had a good time. I didn't get to play in any official events, but we did play a couple games at the tables, like while it was kind of slow. And then back at the hotel, I got to play a couple games with the people that shared our hotel room this year. And that's another big bonus for me is the hotel hooked us up with a suite this year, because we bring them so much business through people getting rooms there for AcadeCon. So we got a comped suite. So we had the 2 queen size beds, and then we had a whole other room that had this big table in it. It had a huge floor space, had a pull-out couch. So we had a ton of people in there. Basically, all the faculty that wanted to jump in did. A couple of you got your own rooms, just because you had the money or you didn't want to share, whatever. But it was great. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, so I really appreciated that. And had its own refrigerator, so I got to get some L8s. I actually got to drink 3 L8s while I was there too.
Yes, I did not want to share. So anyway, yeah, your girl's room had so much room for activities.
It did,
like a lot. So
I missed out yet again on that. One of these years. One of these years.
One of these years.
I won't have to migrate back and forth.
So again, it went very, very well, but very, very smoothly. Probably the biggest thing for me in terms of not freaking out was using that tabletop.events website. And I want to be very, very clear. Rowett went out of his way and really helped us out 2 years prior. He basically wrote that program himself. He's a single developer, and it did what it was supposed to do, but it didn't do it well. And we switched this year to this, basically it's a professional website. And because I wasn't having to deal with issues with that website multiple times every day, that was probably the biggest reason why I wasn't stressed out, because the year before that caused a lot of headaches where people weren't able to get in. So I was getting emails 2 or 3 times a day where I would have to stop what I'm doing, log in as them, change their password, send them their password through email. And this was all while I was working a regular full-time job, and I was sneaking and doing this on the side. So it was just so much stress that I didn't have this year because of that site specifically.
Yeah, tabletop events was huge. The Fandible podcast, their review went up today. Thanks so much for that, folks. And one of their big things was they talked about the tabletop events site. We did some testing back with the AcadeCon line, and then over the summer we were playing with it. And it was a very intuitive system to use. Everybody just loved it because you could do all sorts of cool stuff. Share schedules with other people. There was waitlisting features, notification features if people dropped out of games that you wanted to get into. Really simple sorting tools. So overall, the administration stuff made it really easy. Somebody said, hey, I'm looking for this type of game, and we could just find a game for them right off the bat. So
yeah, probably the biggest thing that it didn't do that I wished it would is we couldn't create an admin account that let us buy tickets for people, because it just that the system wouldn't let you do that because it won't let you have conflicts. Which the old system Road had would. We had an admin account. We could just go, okay, there's a ticket seat open. I'll buy it as me. That way it's yours. So what I started doing is I would go in and I would just change the number of seats available by 1 or 2, like however many people there were. So the game showed that only actually had 3 seats and was supposed to have 5. And that way I could send 2 people to the table and it wouldn't be no conflicts, which is not an ideal solution. It worked last year for what we needed to do, but I think that's one of the things I want to try and improve. And I brought a laptop that was supposed to be public facing, like log in as yourself, you can do everything here, buy your tickets, whatever, and then it wouldn't boot up. It was something's damaged, like it just won't get off the loading screen. So that probably would be one of my biggest difference for next year is make sure we have enough laptops. I want one public facing so that they can just log in and do it themselves. Oh, we lost Tom. So then, all right. So Brad, I'll go back to you. Is there anything that you can think of that would not necessarily that it was bad this year, but like would be an improvement or you think would be helpful for next year?
Nope, we got it nailed down. Let's move on. Everything's perfect.
No, so I missed the question.
Incorrect.
What was
he's saying.
What was the question? Something that we need to do differently?
Yeah, so not that anything went bad, but what can we improve on? What can we do differently, or what can we tweak, or what can we not do? What are some ways that we can improve the experience either for ourselves or for everyone, like the attendees? Because again, food at the DCC sucks. I know that. I've said that every year. We can't change that. So there's no point in dwelling on it. But what are the things that we can control that maybe we should tweak or change for next year?
So I would love to. We've had convention. We've had panels. We have live streams. But one of the things that people always point out why they love AcadeCon from a podcast and industry perspective is that there's so many other podcasters, small folks, larger people like us who are just doing it to have fun and meet people and teach people some stuff. But it would be really cool to kind of basically add another facet to our panels and almost provide like networking events, some workshops, just offering some more diverse sort of events that people can sign up.
Yeah, again, I think that was mentioned in Billy's review from Fandible, that there's so many podcasters, and it is. I mean, you can't throw a stick in a CateCon and not hit a podcaster. So and that's a simple thing we can do. We can just put on the schedule Saturday 12 to 1 podcasting meet and greet. Like, just if you have a podcast or you think about starting one, just show up, do a mixer, try to get some advice. The other thing I was thinking about is, we have the pronoun ribbons now, which I'm a big fan of. I'm glad we can provide those. And I don't want to this is going to be like a cheeky ribbon. I don't want to feel like I'm demeaning one because of the other, but I want to have a ribbon that says, ask me about my podcast. So that like on your badge, it basically calls out, yes, I'm a podcaster and I'm happy to talk about it. So whether it's a sticker, just a little check mark or a ribbon, I just think that'd also be kind of funny because we have so many podcasters that ask me about my podcast ribbon.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things is nobody is ever, we all know what we're doing. We understand that we're all hosting hobby podcasts. And so nobody is ever super pretentious about anything. Nobody's like, yeah, I host this podcast. Nobody does that. So it's just kind of funny when you're sitting around a table and everybody's about to play a game. And my instinctive first thing is like, all right, everybody share your name, just a little bit about yourself. And everybody's just kind of like, yeah, my name's Sarah. I have a podcast. And then it's just like, everybody's, yeah, Tim, I have a podcast. And it's just kind of like, it's this kind of thing. So just letting people know that, hey, this is something that we want to allow people to just talk about more, workshops, that kind of stuff. I think that would be something cool to potentially throw out there a year and see how it goes and maybe build upon it.
And again, that's very easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of manpower. We just set a time and schedule it and let people know about it. So that's pretty easy. So Ryan, again, you were there Saturday,
Mhm.
but was there anything that you would think we could do differently next year to improve, again, for us as the people facilitating or to the attendees?
Um, well, the first thing I noticed is I brought my dice tray because I've learned that everything in the DCC echoes greatly. So this is by far just a ridiculous thing, but some type of table cover. Um, j- and that's being nitpicky really, because it's just a lot of extra money, more than likely.
And it is, and again, and I don't want this to turn into a "that's a good idea, but let me tell you why you're wrong" situation. But I have looked into that, and it's a money situation. The DCC does not provide tablecloths. They basically tell you this is who we would use if you want to rent them, and the price that was quoted is $5 per table per day. So essentially, you'd be adding $15 per table, and we have roughly 100 tables. So
That's yeah, which is
100
ridiculous.
times 15, that would
Yeah,
basically take away all of our profit and then some.
yeah.
So yeah, it's not feasible at our size. Um, you know, maybe I could look at next year doing like if you want to sponsor specifically tablecloths or provide like if you have your own, you provide us as your company's logo or something. I'd be I can find some way to offer it subsidizing the cost. I'm all for it. But me personally, this is a Michael thing. I like not having them because I'm that person at like Gen Con that's always like trying to pull them up because I'm stepping on them or I just get my feet caught in them. I lose my stuff under the table. So I'm actually a fan of not having them. So it's just a Michael thing that it's not a big concern for me. But if enough people bring it up, maybe we budget for it next year, or we just, we try to find a way to make it work. Maybe we do some and not others. I don't know.
Well, and that's my one kind of nitpicky thing. That's just me. But honestly, I go along with Tom and the podcast bit. I think there's two things that we could potentially offer, but we'd have to get people on board. Is one, a lottery system to have podcasters run a game that will air on their podcast. For non-podcast people that come, they can
Mhm.
enter a lottery and maybe play a game with that group. And I think that'd be something easy for one or two podcasting people to run. A second thing would be like a regular trivia night, like on Saturday night. You don't want to run a game you've been playing all Friday, all Saturday morning, afternoon. Um, get maybe a small room, whether it's at the DCC or maybe even connected to the hotel, and see if somebody wants to run nerd trivia.
Well,
I
we
mean,
usually have Geek Wars.
yeah, I know we did that. We did that a
Yeah, they
couple
weren't
years
there
ago.
this year.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it kind of. But I think that would be fun, something different for a lot of people. It's also can be very social, um, and gets a lot of people doing something just a little bit different outside of realm. So you're not sitting down the whole time or something like that. Other than that, I mean, no complaints. Again, I didn't hear any complaints. Everyone was happy. Everyone seemed excited. Um, I think it went really well. I was, like I said, I was there all day on Saturday, um, and just amazed at how it took us a while to get there, but couldn't be more pleasantly surprised that it was so smooth for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and again, just to kind of piggyback, like the nitpicky things, like because it was so smooth, I was able to look at things maybe more objectively than in the past, and I'm trying to find small tweaks. And like, well, one of the ones we talked about was every year I basically bring my entire game library and RPG books, and this is anecdotal, but I don't think hardly anybody checked out any of the RPG books.
Oh, I
I
did.
know
Oh, I
well,
did.
a couple people might have checked out a couple of the books, but I just think from like a standpoint of labor and the amount of time it takes me to pack those up, haul them there, unpack them, display them, repack them, I don't know that that's a good return on investment. So maybe next year I pick and choose and bring a few, but not all of them.
I think you could probably get by with that if you ask. I think if you ask around enough people, somebody's going to come up with us. Hey, I want to play Faith. I bet if you ask around, somebody's played that or somebody's got the book hanging around,
No,
maybe that they brought with them that you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to bring that every time.
no. I want those books there. And because this year Michael asked me to run a game. I don't know if I told you all this, and
it may have come up.
Yeah, it may have come up, and I'm like, I don't have any D&D books, and Michael's like, hey, well, we have D&D books over here, and I was like, okay, no, and also I just like having them there. It makes me feel good, like around all these books, and I get to like pick up books that I want to get, but I know I don't have the time to run this because I just started another campaign.
Right.
So it's cool to flip through some of this stuff. But yes, I understand that.
But I agree with you, because that's the reason why I brought them to begin with. Is this is an RPG convention. Obviously, board games are a big part of it, but I want this to be an RPG convention. So I think it kind of makes sense to have those out there. But I'm just from the standpoint of how much they got used versus the amount of effort involved in transporting them there, I'm not sure. And then the other side of that is the same thing with my game library. I have some duds in the library. I don't think anyone has ever checked out in like the last 5 years. Maybe I don't bring all the games this next year. Maybe the couple of the ones that no one ever uses, I don't bring, or we throw them in like a prize pool and get rid of them or something. So I don't know. I'm trying to find ways. Obviously, again, full disclosure, I had a herniated disc, which I have re-injured. So I was not able to pack anything into the van. My wife had to do all of this. So there was probably some like, how could I not have as much stuff to carry in my mind, more so than in years past?
Oh man, I bet she's got a tally count going for you after that.
Yeah, and again, some of the bigger boxes she couldn't even lift either. So her sister had to come, and those two together got like the last 3 or 4 boxes in. And the heaviest boxes are the RPGs. They're small boxes, but they're freaking heavy. So that was definitely a thought going through my mind, is maybe this wasn't the best idea. So I don't know. I'm not saying we're going to do anything, but those are things that I'm thinking of for next year. That's a Michael thing. That's not really going to change people's experience, other than if they're the one person who really would have wanted to play Sequence because I had that game for some reason.
Yes.
So regarding the RPG books, do you think that the reason that they're not checked out and taken to play is because there's a significant difference in an RPG versus a board game? RPGs require some more setup to them, and the GMs have to do a little bit of prep, unless you're just gonna run something off the cuff, and that can be harder to do for some games, or particularly for games that you're not as you maybe aren't as experienced with. Do you think that maybe if we were able to provide, like, for a select, I don't know, just spitballing, maybe like a selection of scenarios or something like that for some of the more popular RPGs that people could pick up and play, like maybe more along the lines of those quick start rules or things like that,
well,
that would be more useful for people?
So in my mind, there are 2 types of people who will potentially check out the RPGs. One are the people who want to run it, and that's why I try to get as many of those like quick start games as I can. I have the starter sets, so I have the Star Wars one, and the Legend of the Five Rings one. I have Pathfinder, D&D, 4th edition, and 5th edition, and I think there's a couple more floating around, the Numenera, because those are the types of things that are designed for someone who's like, let's try this, but it's got pre-generated characters, it's got a short adventure. And then the other people are the ones who are like, hey, I've heard of Forbidden Lands. Let me just, like, almost like a library. Like, they're not going to play it, but they might just like take the book to a chair and flip through it for half an hour and look at it, and then maybe decide to buy it later. So those are the 2 audiences in my mind, that the RPG library serves. And I think there's completely different aspects. Like, I think the starter sets make sense for those people. I think just having maybe some of the more obscure books are for the other. But that's certainly something we could consider. I know Savage Worlds has a ton of one-sheet adventures. Or again, we have a printer, maybe we have a laptop. We just tell people like, hey, you want to play that? Like we can just set up, quick links to all the random places where you can download those instant adventures. Because I don't want to like print them and have them there and then no one use them either. So now we've added to the workload of having to keep up and organize all these, and then maybe no one uses them. So not saying no, I'm not sure the feasibility of it. But I agree with you that, like, it's not something where someone's going to go, hey, I've never played 5e before, let's do that. And they're going to go take the player's handbook, the monster's manual, and the DMG, and then go run the game. That's not happening. At least I don't think it is.
No. So other than RPGs, we all kind of did. Everybody say what their favorite thing they played in was?
I didn't, but I mean, um, so my son and I played a couple of games, board games, and I actually, um, disappointingly, had a game where no one showed up to. So that's my low moment, which is a first out of all the years I've been doing this. Which disappointed my son because it was my Transformers game, and that's what he was actually going to
Oh,
play.
Sell,
Um,
sell harder, Dad.
yeah, no kidding, right? Um, and I have a feeling that the one that I had to cancel because of my availability changing was probably full.
that
Just
one
by
was,
sheer
yeah.
luck. Yeah, see, there
Yeah,
you go.
it was completely full because I was like, darn it.
Yeah. So that yeah, that's a real bummer. However, the game that I did run, my Dungeons and Dinosaurs, which is usually a hit at other conventions and at our monthly um, game store nights that we host. Um, I've told you guys this story, but my son played in that one with 3 other people at the table. And at the end of the adventure, he got to tame a dragon as a pet. And then the whole day, rest of the day, he was arguing with me. Is it just mine, or is it kind of like the whole party's because everybody lived? Uh,
Ah,
but I'm the one that got the final roll on it. I mean,
mm,
and to their luck, no one's played the scenario that way. Um, but they did have 3 successful skill checks in a row to tame a newly hatched dragon. Um,
Official
and
rules, you split it. You split it.
yeah.
Yeah, you split
Yeah,
the
so I
loot.
was telling him once, you had some help, and he's like, yeah, but I kind of got the deciding vote, and I'm like, I don't know if it works that way.
Yeah.
But you can make that argument with a 9-year-old all day. But I mean, it was cool because he got the role. One of the players at the table actually stood up and cheered because he had never done that, never seen that before either, and he was thrilled. And my argument for that is, you're at a convention, run something a little bit out of the ordinary that a lot of players don't get to see.
Mhm.
How many players do you meet that have never faced a dragon? The game is Dungeons and Dragons. You see plenty of dungeons. You don't see a whole lot of dragons. I run a mid-level campaign at level 10. So the guy I was talking to at our table said that he'd been playing the same campaign for 2.5 years, and they were only getting to level 6.
That sounds like my kind of campaign.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, you would have liked this guy, or at least the DM,
Yeah.
but do some things out of the ordinary and have some fun with it. And when my son rolled that successful check, which was in like the mid 20s, which was ridiculous, um, just to have somebody cheer for him and have him so thrilled that happened, it was definitely my best game now. Um, it's also good to have my son beat me in every board game we played. But I mean, we are an RPG.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Board games are secondary.
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
an RPG convention, and just having that moment, whether my son was the one that made the roll or not, having someone at my table stand up and cheer because something great happened in the party to the players is always going to be a moment to remember.
Oh yeah. That's definitely highlight real material.
Yeah.
So I want to go last here because I have a story to tell at the same
Story.
time.
What?
So Brad, favorite game you played or ran?
Favorite game I played and ran? Well, favorite game, it's always a murder mystery. It's a ton of fun. But other than that, Andy's Cold Steel Warden game. Great time. Now
That's kind of an
canon, I
AcadeCon
might
tradition
add.
as well.
It is. Now canon that Killjoy does hot yoga in the morning.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
they? Nice. All right, Tom,
Backstory.
you.
Okay. So I already mentioned all the games are great, but my 2 highlights, I got to run Nibiru for Quinn and Joe from Arms of Tide, and then several other folks, some of them who actually hang out over at Woodburn Games, and it was an absolute blast. I've been talking about this system for a long time, and I love it so much, and I finally got to run it for a group who really bought into it, which was super cool. So Quinn and Joe are absolutely amazing role players.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was It was amazing. They dove right in, and it was so fast. I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, okay, all right, here we go. This is what we're gonna do. So that was super fun. And then at AcadeCon, I actually get to play games, which is the perpetual GM over here. But to get to play games is amazing. I got to play Ryutama, which is a super cool game that's just about it's going on a journey. There's nothing crazy about it. There's not a whole lot of fighting. You're harvesting herbs in the forest and then going on a hike. And that's pretty much it. And it's just this really cool laid back game. And I've wanted to play it for a long time, and I finally got to do it because that's one of the things at AcadeCon. We just have so many games. And so those are my two highlights, getting to run Nibiru and then play Ryutama.
Yeah, it's one of the things, because it's come up before. I've looked at our numbers, and I didn't for this past year, but I'm sure they're similar. But if you compare our event to other events about our size, our distribution of games is wildly more disparate than most. And again, this is a wild generalization. I'm sure there are examples out there that I'm wrong, but most of the conventions that I've looked at or participated in, 90% of the games, or I'll say 70% of the games, are either D&D in some form or Pathfinder now in some form, including first edition Starfinder. For us, it's completely opposite. The vast majority of our games are not D&D or Pathfinder. I love D&D, still my favorite game, but I'm very proud of the fact that our convention highlights so many other games and gets them to the table and helps expose people to these other games. So that's something I'm very excited about. So I'm glad that you got to do that twice, once as a GM and once as a player.
Yeah. Oh, you kind of mentioned it too. We have got to get a shout out to the Pathfinder Society. They showed up so much this year. We have a huge, great Pathfinder community in Cincinnati. They all drove up, partnered with the Dayton folks, and their tables were just full. And I don't know if you realize this. So we have Joe Blumquist. It was there. He's a local RPG designer and writes for Pathfinder, and so he's now being published in their adventures. And so it was, I know Joe from him helping me out over at Woodburn Games, and so it was super cool that he was able to come and run some of the games that he's written for Patio. So
yeah, they definitely were filling up tables. And then I'll give, again, just a kind of shout out to our D&D side of that as well. I didn't think we were going to have D&D organized play this year. I kept reaching out, trying to get a hold of volunteers, and it's kind of a thankless job. Again, at AcadeCon, we don't give free badges, which most of these people that come are used to. If they run games for organized play, they almost always get a comp badge or something. We don't. That's not our model. It doesn't work for us. So it's harder to get people like, hey, do you want to buy a badge and then come here and offer this service for our attendees? So, not everybody's into that. And then I had posted, I think on one of the Kickstarter updates that I'm just not sure it's going to happen. And then one of the community members contacted me. He's like, nope, we're going to do it. And they basically went out and recruited a bunch of GMs and kind of made them go. So we did have some D&D organized play, but it was completely community driven. It was nothing that we did. And that makes me excited as well that the people in the community were like, no, we're going to help make this work too, because that's the only reason why this does work, is because it's not just me and it's not just all of you, because all of you do much more work than I do. But as a whole, it's not us. There's still so many other people that make it happen. It's kind of incredible.
For sure.
But here's my favorite moment, or excuse me, my favorite event. It's really close between the Action 12 Cinema playtest, because it went so well, and then the murder mystery event. But I'm gonna give it to the murder mystery event just because it's such a big event. A lot of people show up in costume. It's basically a LARP, and it's also basically Clue the movie LARP, which I love. So it's a really good time. And I was so organized this year. I had a binder this year, and I had all my papers, and I had them listed and coded. Like, by far, I was more organized this year than last year. But somehow, in my organization, I neglected to include a location
you did
that is very important to the game, that it be found. And Tom, I'm gonna brag on Tom here. Tom is a genius. Tom's a great improviser, because he turned my absence into a positive. He came to me and goes, why is there no gaming location? I'm like, there is a gaming location. Like, you moron. And then I look up at the board and go, oh wait, there's no gaming location. So I started flipping through my book. I had left it out, and Tom is the butler, and one of the powers within the game is some of the people are noble birth, and they are able to influence the servants more and get them to confide more than they are supposed to other characters in the game. So Tom turned this into, okay, you've worn me down. I'm going to tell you about this secret location that's
Yup.
not listed to that player. So it not only it went from me being like a moron to an awesome aspect of the game where that person got to use their power, and Tom did it without missing a beat. It was perfectly executed. And I'm not going to say it saved the event because there are other pieces and parts, but it kept it from being a disaster, which it could have been in that moment if we hadn't found a way to turn around. So Tom, thank you so much.
You're welcome. The way I kind of, it's so funny when you told me what the butler kind of, I'm just walking around and I'm almost acting like the way I envision this role is I'm a game master. When I see like somebody just kind of standing there like scratching their head, you just kind of make something up so they kind of go in one direction.
Yeah. Just kind of push them back.
Funnel them. Railroad them. No, it was, it was
Michael's favorite.
Yeah.
Oh my word!
I like a good railroad.
The lawful and orderly crew. I mean, between Marty, I was so disappointed Marty not showing up this year, but just having those folks this year was just, they are hilarious. Scott is an absolute. He is a thespian. All right, that is just.
We really should record that some year, just because it was. I mean, he did such, and everybody did such a great job, but like him in particular. And then I apologize, I don't remember her name, but it's the lady who plays in Lawful and Orderly. She played Sallowfield. Do you remember what's her name?
I'm blanking right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I just know it's Nine of Swords on Twitter. See, that's what I'm saying. It's.
But she also was one of. I was so impressed with her role play. And again, I got to give it up to our other NPCs, Lady McAllister, the chef. Like I think Brad, were you the one that told me that someone was honestly concerned about her? Because she was acting upset as her character, and one of the players was like, "Is she okay?" Because she was so convincing about being upset that they thought she was actually upset, and it's like, that's incredible.
Oh, this is the other great thing about the murder mystery is if you all watch our RPG Academy Present show, Jake is known for just. Him and Troy are always just attacking me. All right. They just always are going after me. And so to just see Jake just get eviscerated by so many people was cathartic. I'm just sitting back there watching them throw these zingers, and Jake he's usually somebody, he's super witty. He can go with the best of them, but everybody brought their A game this year and they went after him hard, and I appreciated it so much.
And then I give a final shout out to Big Al, who's again one of our regular listeners. He's been on our Patreon. He played Elder Fane, and he solved the mystery.
Yes.
I don't think he was the only one that was there, but it was basically his turn in character. And he just, again, he's a lawyer in real life, and he presented it like it's like an episode of Matlock, where he's just like laying out this and laying out that. And then within the mechanics of the game, it required the killer to confess. I mean, you could not have scripted a better ending to that game than what we had this time. So it was basically perfect. And there was cake.
There was cake. There was. So it's all cool. One other thing this was the first year, I think, that we had a comic book writer and then artists as part of vendors, which is super cool because I like to see people there with art, and I had to go grab it because mini Tom's Comic Corner over here, I got one of the comic book issues, Cog and Flame, all right, and it is really good. I was, just an indie comic book artist just showing up at a convention pushing books, and I went over there and I was like, all right, I gotta check out the book, and it was very good. So I was very glad to have them there. So I'm really hoping that they come back next year.
Yeah,
so.
We had several new vendors, but most of our vendors are returning from previous years. I didn't speak to every single vendor, but several I spoke to said they were having a fantastic year. Like they had made up their money on Friday, and the rest of the weekend was just gravy. And then a couple others were like, this was a down year for us. Like normally we make a lot of money, and this year we didn't. So I don't know what the what the factors are there. But I do think that, like, our vendor fees are very reasonable for our size, probably lower than they should be. But I want people to make money. If they're showing there as a vendor, I want them to be successful. So again, if you come in future years, please go patronize not patronize, but patronize the vendors. Give them some business, or at least just go talk to them if they look like they're bored.
All right, hold on. New York Tater, he said I showed that book upside down. I didn't show it upside down. All right, look. All right, he is upside down.
Hey, I thought the same thing at first.
I did too. I was like,
it's like, oh no, it's right set up. Okay.
All right. So speaking of chat, are there any questions from anybody who's in chat? New York Tater, again, I know you were there this year. Again, I don't know. I don't have chat up in front of me. Tom's running chat, so I don't know who else is there. But if you have any questions or any comments or anything you want to talk about, please throw it in there. But otherwise, we're going to kind of start to wrap things up. So the next big thing for us is the faculty retreat. It's going to be the end of March. So March, I think, 27th and through the 29th. And that is where all the faculty get to go, and we have a 3-day gaming event that's just gaming. It's basically the best time of the year. It's like my Christmas, all in, every holiday rolled into one. And as has happened in previous years, I'm going to launch the Kickstarter the day we leave for that event. So that'll be March 26th. That way I cannot worry about it because I'll be in a car for now like 8 hours, maybe even 9. So by the time we get there, hopefully we'll be funded. That would be fantastic. So, but other than that, that's basically all for me. So we'll go one more time around the table. Any last thoughts, and then we'll see if there's anything in chat. So Ryan, anything else from you this year? Looking forward to next year? Anything in particular? Just words you haven't said yet?
No, not really. I mean, I really I don't mind the drive back and forth, but one of these years I would like to be able to stay up there the whole time. Just my schedule with 2 crazy young kids.
There's a spot on the floor with your name on it.
Yeah, there you go. See, my car might just have to break down one night. No, other than spending even more time up there than what I have been in the past, is the only thing that makes it better. That, and if we could get some kind of like flashing neon signs to post on everybody's shoulders, so that all these people that follow us and talk to us and chat with us, all their handles and their avatars, if we could find a way to easily see that information, like, real life video game, that would be fantastic, because I'd like to say hi and give everybody a high five for coming and supporting it.
They were going to have to add a stretch goal for the next Kickstarter to build an AR app for, AcadeCon.
Yeah. Or come to the VIP event on Thursday, because most of the people there are those people. Not all of them.
But that's true. I did miss that again this year. Or not again. I've been years, but I did miss it this year. I will say though, we could add a like a meet and greet, like we do we had that rotating sign with all the games on it. If you're a Patreon, if you're a VIP, if you're somebody important, we could add a rotation with pictures and their name and say, hey, if you see me, say hi. I'm this person, such and such. Maybe that would be one way to do it. I don't know. Seems kind of silly. People may not want their picture taken or whatever, but
what I do think would be what we could do there is, like, a lot of the podcasters that come do live show. The Broadswords, Sacrosanct, One Shot Onslaught. We don't ever do an RPG Academy event. Like, if we could find a couple of volunteers to watch the desk for an hour, we could do an RPG Academy event where it's either like a live detention or a synergy session or like a game. And then anybody who comes to that's probably people who like us and already listen to us. And then we'd have them all in one room together.
We already have
like an Acquisitions Inc.-esque game.
We were super disappointed. So next year we already have it planned. Jake, Troy, and Alex and myself, we're doing an RPG Academy Presents show.
Well, then, yeah.
It'll be ridiculous.
Nice. All right. So Brad, any final words from you about this past year or future years?
I had a great time this year. We look forward to it all year long, and I'm already getting excited about how we can make next year even better.
Awesome. And I mean, legitimately, I've said this to you personally, and I've on Twitter and Facebook. I could not do this without you. 100%. I know, just as the face of the podcast and as the face of AcadeCon, I get a lot of accolades when there are those that come to me. And most people mention and faculty, but unfortunately, you guys are kind of usually lumped together. I could not do it without you. It literally would not happen without all the support from you, whether it's working the desk again for free, your time, your energy. Tom and Kaylee this year handled all the graphic design. Even Brad Plogstead, who's just sort of like a friend of the show, did some graphics design for us this year free of charge. And then just, literally just packing up. Like you and Michael stayed this year to the very end. The years past, it's been a couple other people with us, but literally could not happen without you. And if I don't express that enough, I'm sorry. I hope that you know how much I appreciate all of you. And I'm getting a little choked up. AcadeCon means so much to me. It is such my baby, and I drive it with emotion. But as far as actually getting things done, if it wasn't for the other faculty, it would die. It would die on the vine. That would be it. So it makes me so
That's Michael
excited.
being modest, everybody, because he he loves being hands-on, to put it nicely. So don't let him fool you.
Well, I just I don't know. I really appreciate it. I hope you know that, and I hope people watching now or comes to AcadeCon in the future, they understand that this is such a group effort. It is such an academy event, and I'm just excited that I got people who care about as much as I do, if not more so in some ways. Because if it turns out it's just me, it's dead.
Well, I think we all love the RPG Academy at this point, and I for one wish I could dedicate more time.
I mean, again, you give what you can, and that's all I can ask. All right, Tom, take us home. Any last words from you before we go to audience questions or wrap up?
So I completely forgot about the biggest moment for me at AcadeCon. All right. So I was sitting at the desk, and I'm just a normal day. Somebody approaches me. This dazed look on their face as they look in awe and wonder at this convention that is set before them. And I say, welcome to our convention. And they look at me and they're like, I think I recognize your voice. Oh, it was like, but he's like, I don't know your name, but I think I've heard you before. And that was it, though. That was it. And I was floating away, and I was like, I almost didn't even give the guy's badge because I was like, no. It was just a really fun year. I mean, just having a full year now as faculty, just now feeling more involved and invested was really fun to be there and hang out. So it's cool.
And I'll tell you, that never gets old. Not that I get it a lot, but I've probably got recognized by my voice 5 to a dozen times, and every time it makes my day.
Oh, yeah, and I've got this, I'm super nasally, my voice is cracking all the time, but, that's what they recognize.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That's all it is. So, all right, so is there anything in chat people want to talk about or questions?
Well, so the few things that everybody seems to want a live detention episode. So that may be we may have to do that. Then it sounds like a good plan. It makes sense. And then also, New York Tater pointed something out. He was just asking about if we had a chance to go through all the photos that his son took. And big shout out to, that was huge. I'm not sure if Michael's had a chance to go through all the photos, but you have got to thank him so much for doing that for us.
Yeah, I started last night. I think I went through the first batch a little bit while we were there one day, but I didn't have a chance to look at any from Saturday or Sunday. Going through and not really organizing them, but just trying to pick out, because again, the way photographs work, sometimes you get 2 or 3 of basically the same thing. So picking out the one I like the best, and then I'm gonna try to organize them, and then hopefully those can be uploaded, if not this week, certainly by the end of next week. I've also put out a call to anybody who was there and took their own pictures. I'll include those, but I'm hoping to have the photo library for 2019, I forgot what year it was, uploaded within the next week or 2, so that they'll be all over the website. And then we'll probably pick out a few to use for like the front page for next year's event, Kickstarter, and that kind of stuff. So
yeah. The other thing, Berserker Rage is local to the area and was asking about, hey, what can somebody do who's local? And the biggest thing, spread the word at your local game stores and anybody that you know. I just tapping into the local gaming community within Dayton and Cincinnati that's the next step for for growing AcadeCon. It was great to see all the people from Woodburn Games, our local game store down here that we run our monthly event at, who came up and talking to all sorts of people who were local to Dayton was really cool. So just continuing to let people know that, hey, there's a gaming convention in your town in November. I mean, it's huge.
And that's the thing that's infuriating, because I don't know how to fix that. But literally every year, I meet someone who's like, I had no idea this existed. I'm so excited. I'm here now, and I'm like, I don't know what else to do to tell people in Dayton or nearby that it exists. So word of mouth is hugely important.
Critical.
Short of paid advertisement, I don't know that we could do anything more other than physically going to the stores and handing out flyers, which would be a huge time burden on everybody.
Right. But we have done that some. Like, I did the Facebook thing, and I target basically anybody who's like 7 to 60, boy and girl, who likes any sort of D&D or RPG. Like, I do the Facebook ad for them.
You were on the news a couple years ago.
Last year I was on the news, and I was on radio, and we did like a local newspaper thing. We didn't do any of that this year, but it didn't seem to matter. So I've done what I know to do and what I can do. So if you have any expertise in that area, but the biggest thing is just evangelize it, tell people about it. Back the Kickstarter if you can. I know, some people don't want to buy a badge in March for an event in November. I get that, but it really helps us to know that we have those funds ahead of time. And that, honestly, now that I think of it, that might be another reason why this year seems so smooth, is our Kickstarter was crazy successful last year. We well overfunded, and that gave me the money I needed to do things beforehand. I wasn't like waiting for, like, I need 7 people to buy a badge this week and then I can pay for the banners. I had a lot of that money ahead of time, and it just made things a lot easier. Just like, I don't have to be stressing over the funds like I have done in years past. And again, last year where we lost money, where everything was like, I don't want to pay this, but I kind of have to. So anyway, I don't want to get too far in that, but thank you for asking. Just tell people and then show up.
Yep, that's it.
Cool enough. Well, with that, let's all everybody say goodbye. Thank you for watching and listening now in the future, and we'll see you next year in November.
I'm just going to let you all keep waving. I haven't hit the button yet. I enjoyed this. No, but we almost forgot again, Michael. Don't forget, if you're having fun, you're doing it right. Yeah.
Well, and again, the AcadeCon too is gaming with friends, old and new.
All right. With that, we will leave you all. We'll see. Oh, tomorrow. Don't forget, tune in, 9 p.m. We're going to be giving away a bag Cthulhu dice bag and some dice, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. Watch the RPG Academy presents The Ghost of Saltmarsh. We bring you mediocre stories, but very good jokes. So anyway, we will see you all then. Later.